Welcome to the Benji and Nick Show. So we never normally do that, do we? Actually, I was really caught up in the moment. We'll do it properly. Hello. Good morning.
Goodness.
What? No. Oh no, Lotness. Oh my word. Oh dear.
It's a strategy.
Now, this is the Benji and Nick Show. I just want to say one thing.
Loch Ness game.
And what is it, Nick?
It's not a game, and it's not about Loch Ness. But
this is a tradition. Benji and Nick Show. It's the #1 vintage TV podcast in the known world. We're trying a new thing today, which is why I started the podcast in a different way, because we're using something called StreamYard in a sort of vague attempt to make our videos a bit more fun for people and XYZ. Well, it just looks prettier, to be honest. But it was all about syncing it up and getting it right. And so I was so preoccupied. And then when I clicked the record button, I didn't realize that it needs just a moment to get recording. So that's why I was like watching. Like, is it going? And
it also should say
Red Rake Unlimited presents.
Oh yes, we can sort that one out. You've done it now, but we will sort that one out. Yeah, that's the main.
Just re-edit it in your minds. Anyway, would you like to explain in the normal fashion what this podcast is about, Benji?
Absolutely, I certainly would. So this is the Vintage Television Podcast. We discuss shows from the past, shows you might remember, shows you might want to forget. We riff through it, we jam it, we see what's happening and when. This week, what are we doing, Nick?
Well, we're talking about Bergerac, the famous Scottish detective. Not Scottish at all. I'm talking rubbish. Bergerac, a huge thing in the 80s, I think, on the BBC.
It's gone big.
Sorry, we're just referring to the video. Those of you listening on audio, the majority of you won't know what we're talking about. Starring John Nettles, made a huge star of John Nettles. Anyway, won't say too much about it because Shelley, our reviewer from across the seas, our constant guest and companion, will be here after we've gone through the emails sent to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com to talk about it. And she will not only give us her American perspective on Bergerac, but she'll give us some factual background information and talk to you about Patreon.
Oh, yes, Patreon. Absolutely, do get involved there. I suppose in the normal fashion we should head on to Emailville.
Yes, everything feels different, Benji.
It's very strange. We don't normally hear our own background music, which is very strange. Not used to that.
So I'll top and tail this. I'll do the first one, shall I?
Yes, that's a good idea.
This is sent, obviously, to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com. Don't forget, keep the emails coming in. I noticed that after we asked you to do that last week, you beautifully responded. This is from Michael Herberts, one of our regular contributors. And it was sent on the 21st of May in the year 1012. Quite a long time ago.
1012.
Dear Shelley, Benji and Nick, I am greatly enjoying the podcast as usual. Oh, thanks for writing. Oh, here is a quick roundup of what I've been watching. Having finished Shoestring, I've moved on to Bergerac. This is all the information about Bergerac. It was created by Robert Banks Stewart after Trevor Eve decided he did not want to appear in Shoestring anymore, where he'd being typecast. Despite its reputation for being a travelogue to promote the Channel Islands, the first series, at least, is often quite hard-hitting. In fact, the writers seem to have been secret Marxists, as the rich people on the island are portrayed almost universally as corrupt, venal, and secretive. That's the trouble with a crime show, isn't it? You've got to have bad guys. I have finished watching The Changes and enjoyed it. Despite the lackluster direction, I think that's fair. I went back to listen to your podcast on the series and agree that the end is completely baffling. It must have been watched by the Doctor Who team because David Garfield plays almost exactly the role in The Changes as he does in The Face of Evil, minus the recycled space hardware. Oh, yes, he had a sort of hand on his head in Space of Evil. It was a glove. Yeah. A group of us meet up every Wednesday to watch some vintage television and discuss it. This week, we watched Softly, Softly Task Force, a spin-off from Softly, Softly, which was a spin-off from Z-Cars. The series is built around the characters of Inspector Barlow, played by Stratford Johns, and John Watt, played by Frank Windsor. There was a further spin-off, Barlow at Large. They're spinning off all over the place. I'm aware of all these spin-offs actually being ancient, which must be some kind of record, says Michael. Some things have not aged well, particularly the treatment of the only woman member of the team, Betty Donald. Susan Tebbs was the actor, I believe. You mentioned Robin Redbreast, broadcast in 1970 in Play for Today, which I can remember watching, says Michael. Another play in a similar vein, which has stayed with me, is The Exorcism, broadcast in the Dead of Night series in 1972. Little link to that. I also recommend Shalcon the Painter, based on the Sheridan Le Fanu, a short story, and broadcast in 1979 in the Omnibus series. I do not recommend watching alone.
Love a good spook. Shelley will be interested in that one.
Yes, we must tell her. I also watched, this is what we'd be pleased to hear about, Dangerous Knowledge.
Wow.
John Gregson driving and looking at the camera. I wonder if Southern Television thought they ought to have a series like Callan or Public Eye. Sadly, it was John Gregson's last role. It was clearly a Southern Television production. It was clearly a Southern Television production. How do I know? Because it had boats in it. The same goes for the Freewheelers. Also, lots of boats. It's like everything I write has boats and sea in it because I'm from the Southern Television area.
You're a seafarer.
Teenage Carnival, the theme tune to Freewheelers there. Finally, I recommend Comrade Detective on Amazon Prime, the legendary Romanian series lovingly restored. Here's a trailer.
Oh, I'll have to check that one out. That sounds interesting.
Yours sincerely, Michael Herbert, editor, Fantasies of Possibility science fiction blog. There you go.
Go to that, fantasiesofpossibility.wordpress.com. See that free promotion straight away. Thank you so much for sending those in. Loads of things there for us to take a look at, which is good. We like these recommendations because it helps us
have a look.
Helps us give our opinions on what you want us to watch, as opposed to just us wanting to watch Death to the Daleks again. I've turned up my microphone now because it was a little bit quiet earlier. I was recording something in the lunch break. Yeah.
What were you recording on the lunch break? Can you say?
I recorded a cover of myself singing Funny Faces.
Did you really, though? I want that.
I did. I sent it to you on your phone, Nick.
Have you?
Yes, it said this is what I do or something when I should be eating.
Well, when we were doing the Big Finish podcast earlier, we started talking about an old commercial called Funny Faces Ice Cream. And the theme went something like this, I presume.
Funny faces, hey, hey, hey. Funny faces, hey, hey, hey. Funny faces, hey, hey, hey. Funny faces, hey, hey, hey.
This is your bit, Nick.
To have all the good ideas. It's made with real Cornish ice cream, guaranteed to block up your arteries and bring on a coronary. I love
there you go.
That you left a space for the voiceover.
Had to be done.
Just walls to have all.
It was really funny because I went downstairs and I started brewing the kettle and I just kept singing Funny Faces, and I was sort of waiting for the kettle to boil. Waiting and sitting there, I thought, no, I've got to go and do this. I can do this really quickly. Rushed upstairs and quickly was just like, right, I'll do it. Not my best vocal performance, but not bad for just clicking record and being like, right, this harmony now, this harmony now, this harmony now. But it's all right. I got it out my system.
It's certainly better than my rendition of the Freewheelers theme just now.
well, I liked it. I liked it.
You want to do that Alan Partridge thing? It's too high. It's not working.
No, stop. Look, too high. We got one here from Neil Allen.
Yes.
Subject of this one is one of the biggest questions facing society now. This was sent on the 25th of the 5th, 2021, the year of our Lord 1809. So it's probably written in sort of Edwardian it was not Edwardian times.
No.
Lie, but
Georgian, wouldn't it?
Georgian, that's right. Yes, thank you very much.
You need a cup of water, old chap.
I would love a cup of water. Yes, I've got my What These Party 7 glass here.
Oh, I haven't got mine. Oh, I'll have to get that for the after party for those.
Yeah, otherwise it's just a crime, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we got one here. It says, afternoon, Benji and Nick. I was going to ask this question to BBC Radio 4, The Moral Maze, but on reflection, I think it might be a little bit too highbrow for them. So I'm asking you two instead.
Oh, thank goodness, yes.
If ever, God forbid, you were involved in an industrial podcasting accident and one of your hands got mangled in a microphone or a pop shield accident, after visiting your local NHS hospital, all they could offer was to remove the hand and replace it with a Dalek attachment. Which one would you choose? You ready, Nick?
Okay.
Dalek blaster gun,
Right.
a standard Dalek manipulator plunger, a Dalek cutting device, either a flame or polystyrene cutter, makes them with that sort of weird noise. A
It
claw
makes that
arm.
squeaky noise as it goes through the polystyrene. Yeah.
Oh, it's terrible. A claw arm with the standard 2 pincers, not the fancy 3 pincer type. The NHS is not made of money. A Dalek scoop. Not a pooper scoop, just a scoop for retrieving mutants. Yes, the old sieve. A Dalek flamethrower. Oh, yes. Or maybe, this is the one I think Nick would go for.
Yeah.
A Dalek kinetic weapon. However, you don't get a model of the TARDIS to shoot at.
Oh.
You just have to provide that at your own cost. Yeah.
He means the one, a kinetic weapon. Is that what they called it?
They are moderately efficient. That's the thing.
Say the Exelons as they're shot.
I hope you can answer this burning question and put the nation's minds to rest.
Oh,
All the best. Neil, it's a hard one, isn't it?
Yeah, what do you think? I suppose a gun, really, because, then you'd be able to force people to do things for you. So you wouldn't need any kind of manipulator or plunger. You just say, get me the tea now.
I think if I was to have the gun, it would have to have the noise from Planet of the Daleks. That's my favourite. I love that noise. I suppose you could go for... Yeah, I like that one. Or the classic Dalek sort of sound as well.
I like
That's
that
good.
one from round about the master plan time, that... which is a bit like the Auton noise. They used it again for the Autons, basically.
It's a good sound, though, isn't it?
I
It is a
love
good
that.
sound.
I love that. I've with Big Finish, I've combined something like that with the Genesis one as well. To kind of
To
mix
make
it
the
up a
ultimate
bit.
Dalek exterminator.
Ultimate.
What about where do you stand on guns in terms of do you like the straight wires or do you like the sort of round dividers in there?
Well, I suppose I prefer those because that's how they were meant to be. And the straight wires then eventually got bent because these scene shifters used to just grab hold of them by those to move them. And they bent them over the years. So all Dalek guns are great, I think.
They are good. They are good. Oh,
Okay, here's another one from Trevor Knight. This rather amused me, but it does go on for 3 days. So I don't know how long we'll keep reading it out, but it is very good. TV programs that never were. And this was sent on the 26th of May in the year 2346. So
Good
actually
year.
it comes from the future. Dear Benji and Nick, having only recently discovered the brilliant Benji and Nick podcast, thank you.
thank you.
I'm really enjoying listening to your weekly discussions and thank you for reading out my email a few weeks ago. Well, here's another one. I'm writing again because I've noticed that in your trips down classic TV memory lane, you tend to focus on action, sci-fi or drama series, which is absolutely fine with me. But of course, British vintage TV is also full of sitcoms, some of which were fantastic, other of which were, well, definitely of their time, in inverted
True.
commas. For no other reason than it amused me, I started to think about some potential classic TV drama sitcom mashups, which in a parallel universe might have been peak time BBC or ITV entertainment. So here is a list of great or not so great classic TV programs that never were. Bless this house of cards. Bless this house of cards. Sid James plays a ruthless, lecherous, pipe-smoking politician who works his way to power, driven by single-minded ambition and a dirty laugh. The Good Life on Mars. Following a car accident, Tom Good wakes up in 2021 to discover he is a self-sufficiency detective solving bizarre crimes in Surbiton's jungle of small holdings, accompanied by the blunt maverick D.I. Margot Ledbetter. Father, Dear Father Brown. Patrick Cargill plays a wealthy, defrocked Catholic priest who, accompanied by his oddly younger nanny and 2 dizzy teenage daughters, investigates rather posh murders in sleepy West London.
Love it. Love it.
These are Line of Duty Free. Keith Barron and Gwen Watford play part-time detectives Robert and Linda, who, between sangrias and flamenco evenings, root out Ben coppers whilst holidaying in Spain.
I'd watch that. I would be all over that one.
The Fen Street Gangsters. Ex-SAS officer John Klein, Maurice Colburn, is sent undercover to monitor the goings-on of a group of lovable young rogues after they leave Class 5C in Fen Street Secondary Modern School.
Maurice Colburn there, the master of the world's worst joke in Day of the Triffids, where he says, well, you try flying a helicopter without a manual. Or something terrible like that, and yes, everybody laughed. It's like he said the funniest thing ever made, ever said. But yeah, well, you're laughing. Perhaps he did.
Yeah, I am. I just love that. I mean, the idea that he's still alive after trying to fly a helicopter without a manual. He does say that he got through several helicopters, doesn't he?
Yes, he did. Yeah,
so
but
how do you keep crashing them without dying? You know?
Well, presumably he's like a cat. He's got 9 lives.
He's like a cat. And cats are renowned for being able to fly helicopters, aren't they?
Oh, well, without manuals.
Well, they can't read, you fool, of course. I'll go for cat and manuals. No, yeah. The XYY man about the house. Working for the British Secret Service, ex-cat burglar William Spider Scott moves in with pretty young flatmates Chrissy and Joe to investigate their nosy, quarrelling, suspected criminal mastermind landlords George and Mildred Roper. Brilliant. Oh, this is incredible. Birds of a Feather Serpent. The adventures of 2 chirpy Aztec handmaidens, Pauline Quirk and Linda Robson, and their haughty high priestess, Leslie Joseph, in ancient Mexico. Don't drink the water margin. Following retirement from the bus depot, Blakey and his sister moved to 12th century China and have hilarious run-ins with outlaws from the Song dynasty. Not in front of the Children of the Stones.
Oh, here we go.
Lovable, scatty housewife Wendy Craig moves to a mysterious village within a stone circle where she confronts sinister events and must prevent her children being literally petrified whilst preparing dinner for her long-suffering husband. 3 upstairs, 2 downstairs. Michael Elphick and Angela Thorne play culture-clashing in-laws who, after their newly married son and daughter move in with the wealthy Bellamy family, find themselves becoming butler and chief cook with hilarious consequences. Sorry state of play. Oh, yeah. Ronnie Corbett plays 40-something bachelor Timothy Lumsden, who, desperate to leave home, at last takes up a job with a local newspaper and becomes accidentally embroiled in a political conspiracy involving his domineering mother and leading MP. Tripper's Day of the Triffids.
Oh, God, Tripper's Day.
Hapless supermarket manager Norman Tripper, Leonard Rossiter, has to deal with troublesome staff and fight off an alien invasion in the fruit and veg aisle. Danger UXB on the buses. How many more pages of this are there? Quite a few. Lovable Cockney bus driver Stan Harper, Reg Varney, has to drive his bus through London's busy streets, staying above 50 miles an hour, whilst his lecherous mate conductor Jack Harper attempts to defuse an unexploded Second World War bomb unexpectedly found on the upstairs deck. Yeah, that's more like Speed, that one, isn't it?
Well, I think what we've established here is that Trevor should just be in charge of BBC One. I was about to say BBC Radio 1, but BBC One actually would be even better.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it? We got The Avengers and Mother Makes 3. The final series of the classic series sees enigmatic senior British intelligence figure Mother, Patrick Newell, finally become accepted as a character of an equal footing with John Steed and Tara King. Wendy Craig co-stars as M. Are you being served all my days? After retiring from his career at Grace Brothers, Mr. Humphreys is unexpectedly offered a teaching position in a boys' boarding school in southern England. Mentored by the kindly but bemused senior teacher, Mr. Rumbold, his favourite phrase, "Boys, I'm free," provokes frequent hilarity. Should we... I don't know whether I can read... The prisoner going straight after escaping from the village.
You had him at the prisoner, you see.
Yeah, it's got me immediately, hasn't it? Number 6 attempts to lead a quiet and honest life with his fellow escapees, an Italian butler and hapless ex-barrister Horace Rumpole. However, his plans are thwarted by the continual visits from the mysterious Mr. McKay, criminal ex-MI6 chief Harry Grouty Grout, and a selection of large white weather balloons. We may revisit some of those, Trevor. We haven't. Howard's Way Up Pompeii, Heidi High Chaparral, From Maigret to December, Doctor Who in the House. What's this?
Doctor Who
Hilarious
in the
misadventures of a group of young Time Lord students as they progress through Gallifrey's Academy and get into a number of temporal scrapes, much to the exasperation of the fierce but forgiving Cardinal Sir Lancelot Barusa. Hugh and I, Claudius, my wife, next enemy at the door. Anyway, right. Thank you very much for that, Trevor. Sorry I couldn't read it all out. I nearly read it all out.
Well, you've done it. You did a very good job. I thought a very, very good job
Thank you
indeed.
very much. Thank you very much.
Well, I've fired over an email to Shelley, who will be joining us soon to discuss Bergerac.
Oh, right.
Do you remember, if you want to send in your emails, please send them in to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com. We can't always guarantee that we can read them out, but we certainly endeavour to try.
Well, we mostly will. It's basically the answer, isn't it?
Well, quite. We certainly
Yes,
will. Will.
Well, I mean, if we're killing time waiting for Shelley, I could just read out the rest of those from Trevor.
Well, so yeah, well, we can keep it rolling for now. We can keep it. This is the difference. So we're using this new service, you see. So normally there's some very clever editing that takes place in this sort of limbo zone, as it were. But not this time round. We will see.
My wife, next enemy at the door. Newly divorced George John Alderton starts a new life as a doctor in 1940s Guernsey, only to find that his wife, Hannah Gordon, has become a major in charge of the German occupying army.
Oh, no.
Hugh and I, Claudius. Terry Scott and Hugh Lloyd star as a pair of lovable work-shy servants in the early Roman Empire whose blundering misadventures frequently land their kindly, stuttering employer Claudius in trouble with his nasty nephew, Emperor Caligula, and his horse. Yeah, of course. Okay.
Well, Shelley's on her way. She says, I have to open Chrome. Although maybe if she just opened Chrome instead of telling me that she has to open Chrome, then she might be here faster. Who knows?
I'm on Firefox, so.
I'm on Chrome. I watched a television series the day before called The Flockton Flyer.
Oh, I'm aware of it.
And it's steam engines, you see. It's steam engines and some people who decide to basically live in the railway and make that their own thing. But if you like trains, it's very good. But if you don't like trains, then quite frankly, I wouldn't be too bothered, really.
Wouldn't be too chuffed about it.
Yeah, it's nothing sensational. And we've got Shelley Dean on the end of the line now. We'll let Shelley in to discuss Bergerac. Welcome, Shelley. Hello.
I was going to surprise you with my hat. It's too late.
Okay, this is very weird. This is a whole different thing.
A different dimension, isn't it? It's
backwards.
very strange.
I know.
Yes, we were discussing this.
This is on the video, folks, for those of you listening.
Yes, I'm backwards.
Audio.
We're using a new thing, apparently, and I'm backwards, so it's very disconcerting.
You're the right way around. Normally, you see yourself as a reflection.
Okay, so hey.
Hi.
Welcome. How's it going?
It's going good. I just need to get myself organized because this is a whole different thing. Usually I put my Zoom window somewhere else and then I can see my script while I'm seeing you, but I can't figure out how to do that now. So
it's just
organization.
It's madness,
yes, I apologize. I apologize. So how are you guys doing while I'm figuring this out?
we're very well. We're very
good.
Well.
How's the video been working?
Well, it's been going.
So far so good. Nick's keeping us entertained with this.
Yes. Yeah. I'm ready, by the way. I've got myself set up in a way that will work.
The peak this side.
Yeah, but you look like Nick has a baseball cap on sideways, so he looks like a young, hip rapper dude.
Yeah.
He is a young, hip rapper dude, though, aren't you, Nick?
Okay.
So today we're discussing Bergerac.
But don't forget we got some Patreon.
Before we get into that, we have a whole thing, which was all of me setting up my script. So this week in the patron papers. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-do. That's my sound effect. This week I have an update on the squirrel attack. I know we're all on the edge
Whoa.
of our seats to figure
We
out
certainly
what's
are.
going on with that. So
Nick's on the
it
edge of his
turns
seat there.
it turns out that the squirrel's attorneys are indeed moving forward with the lawsuit against David Tremont.
Oh.
And the judge who is presiding over the case is currently looking for jurors. The
Yeah.
problem with that is you got to find jurors who won't be swayed by how cute the squirrel is.
This is true. Get more squirrels, maybe, is the answer.
So yeah. So, and it turns out that Fatna is going to be subpoenaed by David's defense attorney to testify
Ah.
against the squirrel. It turns out she was nearby when the alleged attack happened, and she is actually considered to be a hostile witness as she has struck up a friendship with the squirrel because he's so cute.
It's like that episode of Peep Show all over again, isn't it?
I guess so. Don't know.
It is. And he makes friends with. He does jury service and then ends up, I think, making friends with one of the women. No, he's not. He makes friends with the accused. Never mind.
Okay, well, there you go.
It's even
No
worse. isn't it?
squirrel involved.
No
But for
squirrel
our
involved.
English listeners, I'd just like to inform them that a squirrel is actually a squirrel.
Squirrel. I'm going to say it from now on.
Charlie bit my finger.
Squirrel. That'll
Like
be
that.
$70 million for you, Nick, from their sale of the NFT. I don't think we're even allowed to say that anymore.
Can't say it anymore.
I don't know. Well, anyhow, so best-selling self-help author Neil Allen has been commissioned by the squirrel to write his story of the struggles of being accused of a terrible crime while being a single father to a litter of kittens, which, by the way, is what baby squirrels are called.
A
litter of-
They're called
They're
kittens.
called a litter of kittens. I had to Google that, and that was like,
Wow.
I never knew that.
Imagine
So-
someone say, "I've got you a kitten." You go, "Oh, love it. It's a squirrel."
Well, so
As it
Neil
runs up and poops on your head. Yeah.
It poops on your head. Neil will be attending the trial every day wearing his Team Squirrel t-shirt. And you can get your very own Team Squirrel or Team David shirts by calling 1-800-555-SQUIRREL-JUSTICE.
Charges may be applied.
Yeah, so also in the
Electrical
patron
charges.
papers, we had our monthly Loch Ness Tier Zoom chat last weekend.
Oh yes.
And we
Yes, we
played
did.
another round of the Loch Ness live game, which isn't a game, and it isn't about Loch Ness. Well, we actually have kind of turned it into a game now, so I guess we may have to alter that.
How are we going to play that into this?
Well,
We can edit. We'll edit it in the post production world.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, yeah. We can do
Alrighty,
that. you see.
well,
We're very
yeah.
clever.
yes. So this month's game was a battle royale style tournament. All contestants playing at once, with the remaining players continuing after a player goodness. The ultimate victory was therefore well earned. We have Carl Scott, Colin Smith, Benji Clifford, and Nick Briggs all battling it out, with Chris David serving as our official referee, and I was there as the official audience, although I didn't really do anything. So let's see how it all played out.
Greetings, dear listeners. What you're about to hear, or indeed see, is the Loch Ness live. I'm going to start again because my cold.
What we're going to see is
Good
Nicholas
start.
Briggs choking to death live on air.
Haven't got any water here either. But do you think this lens cleaner will do? No. it won't.
Absolutely.
Greetings, dear listeners. What you're about to hear, or indeed see, is the Loch Ness Live Lounge, where our Loch Ness tier patrons take us on in the ancient and mysterious game of Loch Ness. The rules are as follows. The first contestant has to say good morning, and then each contestant, in a predetermined order, must respond with an appropriate good response. That is, a response that begins with the word good. The word following good may not at any point be a repetition of a word previously used in conjunction with good earlier in the same game. The essence of the game is the speed of response. There must be no undue delay between responses, or indeed between the word good and its following word. If a contestant cannot think of an appropriate response, they must indicate their retirement from the game by saying goodness. The winner or winners must then say Loch Ness in order to stay in the game. Once a contestant has crashed out, If there are still more than one contestant left in the game can then continue. I think one of the verbs was wrong in that sentence. The new rule is that it cannot go back to good morning, but must only continue with an entirely original good response, not used earlier in the game.
Excellent.
Today's contestants are international champion Benji Clifford, Benji and Nick Show cover artist extraordinaire Colin Smith, Loch Ness tier patron Carl Scott, and me.
Hello.
With Loch Ness tier patron Chris David as the adjudicator, whose word is final. Does everyone understand the rules? Speak now or forever hold your Ness.
I Ness.
I'm not sure I do, and I just read them out.
What's the order you guys are doing it in?
Well, thank you, Chris. Good adjudication.
The predetermined order, isn't it?
I think the order is Benji, Nick, Carl, Colin. Because that's the way it looks on my screen.
Okay.
Just want to check that Shelley doesn't want to take part.
I'm just gonna be sitting here holding my Ness.
Okay.
Okay. Let us begin.
Good morning.
Good day.
Good to see you.
Good night.
Good Friday.
Good trousers.
Good day.
But
Good job. I thought we said good day.
we've said good day.
Damn. Goodness.
Loch Ness.
Oh, and blank.
Loch Ness.
Loch Ness.
Good night.
Good job.
Goodness me, we're in the wrong order. Goodness, sorry.
Loch Ness. Good
Loch
gravy.
Ness.
This is going great.
Good tidings.
Goodness gracious.
Good call.
Good golly, Miss Molly.
Good year.
Good tidings.
Oh,
We've had good tidings.
We've back.
Oh no. Goodness.
Loch Ness.
There you are. Well, I declare Colin Smith the winner of that contest. Yes.
Very
Blimey.
good. Very
Well
good.
done, well done.
Thank you.
I think
Thank
it's time for the post-match interviews here. Carl, you crashed out first. I can see on your face you are in utter disbelief. How's it feel?
Well, yeah. That was a nightmare. I'm usually a bit more organised than that, but I don't know what the heck was going on there. It was just, I was walking around the supermarket yesterday having a game of good Loch Ness in my head, and I was on a roll. I had some real beauties. I've been listening to some back episodes. I had some beauties from the past that I know you said in the past, Benji, and I was all ready to bring them out, but I went too early.
You went too early, you nested
too early.
out too early, but you participated nevertheless, and we will always give a great goodness to all those who take part. On the other side here, we have Mr. C, the mysterious Mr. C, Colin, our cover artist, who has been doing covers for us pretty much from the start, and he made his debut here today in the Loch Ness game. Mr. C, how does it feel to walk out the victor? Did you expect?
I didn't expect it at all. As I said before we started, I didn't think I was going to get very far at all.
But it took you by surprise.
It did.
Have you done any Loch Ness prepping?
Yeah, yesterday, like Carl, I was going through them all in my head and going over like previous episodes.
So the same method here worked for one person, didn't work for another. Interesting. Chris, we go over to you now. You adjudicated this entire affair. What was your summary of the game in total? Did it go the way that you expected, or?
yeah, in that there was a little bit of chaos, and then when the whole thing reversed, it kind of set pretty much on par with the Nicky and Benji show, or the Benji and Nick show.
Nicky and Benji show.
the Rick and Benji show.
Yeah.
Well, there we have it for another Loch Ness live. We'll be joining you next month as the tournament continues, and we see who gets the Ness of the year. So we'll have to tally these up, tally the victories, tally the losses.
That will involve too much organizational skill.
That's part of the fun, the chaos. So we'll be seeing you Next Ness for Loch Ness.
The magic of editing.
Absolutely. Well, there we
Okay.
go. And remember, if you
Yeah.
want to join us on our Loch Ness Live, you can do. It's an exclusive club for Patreon folks in the Loch Ness tier. But that's not all. You don't need to worry if you don't want to. You can join our Patreon for as little as £1. That's right, just the £1, which is less than $1, isn't it?
Yes. No, yes, it
no
is
more
less
than
than
a
$1.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
More
I'm
than-
right.
but-
It's,
I
$1
thought
more than a
things had
pound.
gone really wrong.
well, it's all confusing, but yes, you can. We've also got a Discord, which we've now opened up. If you head to our Twitter page, twitter.com/Benji and Nick, when you're on there, you click the link and it will send you an invite to the Discord. It's magical. There you can chat with all kinds of other fans of vintage television in all manner of different channels as well. The channel tunnel.
Channels
channel.
meaning
The channel.
different rooms with different headings that you can have different conversations about different things. So, and this is all stuff I learned about because I knew nothing about Discord before this. Because I'm old.
Same.
I'm a Gen
Old.
X.
I'm just looking on Discord now.
Yeah,
Yeah. So are we talking about Bergerac now?
we are.
So, Shelley, I
Bergerac.
mean, perhaps it's the question for you. What do you think of Bergerac?
Well, are you going to give us the lowdown on it first, though?
Yes.
I love the way
Bergerac.
I jump in and Nick's like, hold on a minute. No.
Hold on.
I'm going to
let's
stop
stick
you right
to that.
there.
Sort of format here, Clifford. Dear.
Yes,
So-
don't forget. Keep calm.
Yes, we watched a show called Bergerac. It is a British crime drama television series set in Jersey. It ran from 1981 to 1991, and it stars John Nettles as the title character, Jim Bergerac. It was created by producer Robert Banks Stewart after his earlier detective series, Shoestring, came to an abrupt end. And we watched a series 1, episode 1, entitled Picking It Up. And the synopsis is recovering alcoholic Jim Bergerac, a sergeant in the Jersey police force, returns to the island after an extended sick leave to find his job at stake. But that doesn't stop him from investigating a colleague's death.
Doesn't stop him.
No.
He's fierce.
He's
Fierce.
unstoppable. Yeah,
Yes.
his job wasn't at stake. His job had gone, basically.
Well, he didn't know that until he got there.
Yeah.
He thought he was just going to come back from sick leave and everything was going to be all copacetic and fine. And as it turns out, he wasn't fired. He was put on administrative leave, as we call it
Yes.
here, paid
with a view
sick
to
leave.
with a view to removing him, though.
But
With
the
a
guy,
view to a kill.
right? But the guy saying when he was firing him, he was like, this has nothing to do with your alcoholic problem. It's all because your leg is shattered. It's like, oh, so he's fine to be a complete drunk on the job, but
Oh, yes.
if he has a little limp, no, not cool.
But he was clearly lying about that, wasn't he? It
Oh,
clearly
it was
was
so
because he was an
funny.
alcoholic,
Yeah. But yeah,
Come
I had
on.
never even heard of this show. This was an absolute non-entity for me in my life up until this moment. And
Very British.
yeah,
Very British. Very popular as well. Ran for a long
insanely
time.
popular.
yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. As
Which feeds into why
Yeah.
it's probably so popular.
yeah. So I actually had to do a lot of research for myself because I know nothing about the Channel Islands and Jersey and
The
all of
Chilans.
that. So you guys are going to have to explain Jersey to me, as I'm from New Jersey. That's where I live.
Yeah.
Oh, you're just from the new version.
So I was
Old
curious. Yeah, I was
Jersey.
fascinated by learning that
Old.
Jersey, as we say it here.
Joycey.
Jersey. I'm from
Jersey
Jersey.
Shore.
You from Jersey? What exit you live off of? That's what we say. Because there's
No.
one major turnpike that runs, and you say where you live based on the exit off of that.
I see.
Yeah.
Very cosmopolitan.
Jerseyan.
It's
Yes.
very Joycean.
Joycey.
So
You see,
yeah,
over here,
I
Jersey is known for many things. Fantastic milk. You can get gold top Jersey milk, which I do love. I recommend that with cornflakes.
Creamy. Yes. Yeah.
creamy, lovely. It's also a place where the Nazis were occupying the island in the Second World War.
A ding, a ding, a ding.
They were there doing that. Well, it's history, and
It's
this
the
is
only
all
bit of
about
British
history.
territory they managed to invade during the war.
You can watch that. There's An Island at War is a great TV series to watch to educate yourself all about that. That situation. It had Alfred Burke in it playing a German, which is pretty cool.
Was it called An Island's War? Not Enemy at the Door?
They're two different. That's Enemy at the Door is the one that I'm thinking of. Island at War is another one. I think that's the new one, isn't it? Island at War is the newer one. Yes, you're quite right. I did think. Yeah, I've got both of them on my Plex. You see, so it's very hard to get your mind into gear. You see.
Same subject matter.
But no, Jersey's it's a little island that's sort of British territory, as it were.
Well, it's a group of islands, the Channel Islands.
Yeah.
The
But what
China.
was interesting was that Jersey is not considered a part of the UK.
Yes.
And but yet it still sort of falls under the monarchy. So it was
Yes.
weird to me.
It's very strange. If you live
sort
around
of
here,
French,
you'll.
but it's not, but it is. That they all speak
I
English.
mean, should I just find out about it online?
Well,
Yeah,
I did.
do
I
that.
Googled it,
Okay.
and it had. I mean, it was a very long, drawn out explanation of Jersey, but that kind of summed it up as far
It
as.
says, although closely connected to the United Kingdom, the Channel Islands are not subject to the laws of the UK
Islands.
and are not part of the EU. As crown dependencies, the Channel Islands are self-governing and have their own laws, including taxation and courts. There you go. That's the summation of it.
Taxation being the rather lucrative element, which is why you find so many businesses in this country have bases in Jersey.
Yeah. Who do they belong to? The Channel Islands are an archipelago in the
Archipelago.
English archipelago. He's a mate of mine. English Channel off the Normandy coast of France. They are divided into two British Crown dependencies, the bailiwicks of Guernsey and Jersey. The former also includes the islands of Alderney, Sark, and Herm, and smaller islands are divided between the two bailiwicks.
Nice bloke, isn't he?
Bailiwick. The word
Bailiwicks.
bailiwick was actually used in the
Bailiwick.
the first series of Space 1999 that we did recently for Big Finish, where one of the characters is a little bit up himself. He says, "This is very much my bailiwick," and goes striding out. And everyone else goes, "Bailiwick? Who's ever heard of Bailiwick?" And none of us had heard of bailiwick, So it was a nice
bailiwick.
educational moment in Space 1999.
A bailiwicking moment, if you please.
Anyway, so does that sufficiently, Shelley, explain the Channel Islands to you?
Chillands.
Ish. Yeah. It's just it was just not something that was on my radar as far as and even the whole time watching the show and all the research I was doing, I was like, all of a sudden it hit me. I was like, because it kept talking about how it was great for Jersey tourism and this and that and the other thing, and it was funny that they were saying how it's a small island, so they were having a hard time
Smiland.
keeping the filming to where there weren't a bunch of people coming and being gawkers. And so they lied the whole first series that while they were filming it, they said that they were just doing a boring old documentary.
Wow.
And so it kept people away. But then, of course, by the time they were filming the second series, there was more interest, but they ran out of places to film.
Yes,
I like
well,
that.
it is very small.
Just
It
when
is
that
very small.
car exploded and with the guy inside, there's people watching. Oh, it's just a documentary.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fine.
We
Don't
just had
worry.
an accident.
I mean, the thing about it is it's gritty and it's real. It looks, as Nick said last time, it does look dated in a peculiar way, because although it looks dated, it's not that old, if you know what I mean. It's not ancient in terms of when it was made, but there is something about it. I think it's probably just the washed out film look that really gives it an extra dated feel.
Yes, it probably didn't look like that at the time, did it, that film? Do you think it's just aged badly or not?
I think probably. I mean, I don't.
In someone's larder.
I don't know. I mean, tape conditioning.
An Eastern European car, obviously.
Of course, I love a larder. Love a larder. But I did enjoy it. I mean, it was one of those things. Like, I'll probably watch more, but I don't lay awake at night thinking I want to watch more Bergerac. Not in the same way that I'll lay, like the Lotus Eaters. I'm like, I want to watch the next one, or like Pie in the Sky. I'm like, oh, I'm game for another
Shelley's
Pie in the
favourite.
Sky. But this, I did enjoy it, but I would say that it's pretty. I'm surprised how massive it became based upon this first episode, of course.
Yes.
But that said, it's got John Nettles in it, who is is a fantastic actor, and so at the same time, it's like, well, I can see why it did well. And also, who was the woman? She was brilliant as well. The
girlfriend.
Yeah, she was great.
Cecile Paoli.
I had a look at her IMDb.
The French
by
girl,
the way,
right?
Yeah, the French girl.
Yeah.
She's been in a few different things. I had a look at on her IMDb and was surprised to see nothing to do with her actually on IMDb, but IMDb have changed the way in which they display things now.
Oh yeah, when you go on the website instead of the mobile app, yeah, it's awful. It's absolutely awful.
Such a poor decision to do that.
They just the way they populate the cast and the crew and all that. Instead of it being a list, a smaller version, it becomes like these big, huge tiles of pictures, and it's just that you have to scroll all like way more than you used to. And
I always just look on Wikipedia. I never bother with IMDb.
Oh, I'm on IMDb like 800 times a day because I'm always like, I know that actor. Where do I know him
Wikipedia
from? Then...
will tell you as well.
It will do, but it's of course I just clicked on Bergerac, went on, and I didn't realize that Louise Jameson was in Bergerac as a regular.
I did say this last
week.
Well,
I was just I must have been on a different planet last week.
She's
I didn't know that.
She was in it for quite some time.
And it's funny, there was something I copied from, I believe it was IMDb or Wiki. I don't remember which it was. It was that she said, but they had to do a love scene in bed in which the camera started at their entwined feet and tracked up over the duvet to their faces as they shared some pillow talk during rehearsals. Oh. John's trouser legs could be seen at the bottom of the duvet, so he offered to roll them up. Louise said she didn't mind if he took them off altogether, but he replied, if I get excited, I'm embarrassed. And if I don't, you're insulted. So let's just keep it a secret.
That's nice. I know that she always got on with him, and they invited him to a Doctor Who convention once to see her or something for his birthday.
And Annette Badland is in it as well. Another Doctor Who person that we know.
Yeah. She's very young in this, wasn't she?
Yeah, with her dark hair. She looked gorgeous. I loved her dark hair. I'll have to tell her that.
I love when people pop up in things and you don't know, you don't think, oh, they're in this, and then suddenly you think, oh look who it is. It's brilliant.
Well, that's when she became a sort of TV name. That's when she arrived on TV, and as a result of that, got lots of other roles.
Mm-hmm.
And that helps. She's a really nice person as well, which is always helpful, isn't it?
Oh, she's great. I love Annette. I would like to say that I really hated this because I remember it was like everyone loved Bergerac. And I couldn't quite, and it was the very much middle of the road, middle class, middle-aged TV program that everyone watched. And of course, I was young in those days. So to me, it was like a boring old person's program that just did all the boring, obvious things, like so many of the other things that I love. But of course, I saw them first from a different perspective when I was younger or older, or looking back and discovering it. And watching this, I couldn't shake that dislike of it. I thought it had been injected with anti-drama. I mean, everything was done in the least interesting way and most low-key way possible, I thought. I mean, that fight at the end was
so janky, wasn't it? It was rubbish.
Janky? What does janky mean?
I don't know. I've just started saying it lately. I think it just means bad.
I hope it's not terribly rude.
No, it's not.
I don't think it is. It's not rude.
Bad.
But yeah, it was just very much like a fight director had told them once 3 weeks ago how to do it, and this was a shot of them vaguely remembering it. The other thing that really upset me about it was that Floella Benjamin, who's known to a lot of British TV, she was dubbed.
Yeah, horribly dubbed. Horribly, jarringly.
It was ridiculous.
Obviously dubbed.
Why did they do that?
Because she didn't have a good enough American accent, and they thought they needed to make her more obviously American.
Right. Yeah,
to be fair, some of the dubbing in this is pretty poor anyway. Like when they were... there was a scene, I think it was when they just got off the plane, and you can tell that they just dubbed because obviously it was too loud. Probably the plane was loud. Or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just remember when I was watching, I thought at the time I thought, oh, they dubbed that, and that's not that good. So just poor technique in general.
But I think you touched upon it. And why did this become so popular? Because also, aside from anything else, this first episode is
it's pretty dull.
It's really dull, isn't it? There's nothing really interesting happens. The plot isn't. And I remember from seeing later episodes that, that my parents would be watching, and sometimes I would, against my own better judgment, be hooked into it because Robert Banks Stewart is, a really good writer and has got a great imagination, knows how to plot stuff properly. And it would pull me in spite of myself, in spite of my prejudice against it. Whereas this was a real chore for me to watch. I had to do it in 3 chunks because I just wanted to nod off, And
I think
also,
if they had started it with, instead of it just being the guy, the cop who ends up dying, just chasing having a little more backstory as to what was happening, like start it with why he's chasing the guy and then the guy running into the plane and the plane taking off and then him jumping into his car to chase the plane. Instead, it was just this plane is taking off and then this car is chasing it and you don't know why. And then it takes forever to understand what he was investigating.
Yeah, it's I think what I would say.
I don't think John Nettles is particularly charismatic in it.
I didn't think so
the whole thing is, as my dear friend Jürgen from Mannheim would say, it's nothing sensational. It's nothing spectacular. It's striking the average is what this is. And perhaps that's what people liked about it.
It's a bit sensational success. I mean, it ran for 10 years, which is a big thing.
Yeah.
And had a bunch of specials, like little movies and things like that too.
Yeah,
I guess
we know the theme. Everyone in this country knows the theme as well, don't we? You say Bergerac to people and they go dun, 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 dun,
and it got remade by some kid named Younger. If you want to hear it, I have it.
Yeah.
But yeah, he remade it. Yeah, and he did it into like this really cool.
Because it's kind of a bit reggae-ish, isn't it?
All right, it's getting there.
Yeah, there's a 3-hour pause before it starts. God, it's about as long-winded as the blooming show, isn't it? Is that seagulls, do you think?
No, it's electronic dance music, Nick.
No, I know. Is it meant? Is it getting started anytime soon?
I want to be the person with the cowbell.
Cowbell. All right,
More cowbell, man.
I will add a link to that when we post this. But yeah,
if you want to fall asleep, listen to that and watch this episode.
I did quite like the incidental music throughout with the little guitar-y bits. It's nice, but yeah, I mean, I'll give it a 3 exclamation marks out of 3 because I did remember whether I'll give it 3 because I mean, I didn't not like it, but I didn't. I don't yearn to watch more, but I didn't, if it's on type of thing, if it's on, blimey, Nick's living in the jungle there.
That is seagulls right there.
But it's if it's on UK Gold, then I'll watch it. But if it's not, I'm not going to really lay awake and think I really need to see more Bergerac. So that's why I give it a 3.
I'm going to go with a 3 as well because I didn't hate it, so therefore it's not getting a low, but I didn't love it. I did go on and watch the second episode because there was something I read said that it had a flashback to what his accident was and why he was injured. And so I kind of wanted to see that. But as far as the fact that the one American character was dubbed was annoying, and the fact that the car was dubbed.
Was it dubbed into French?
Yeah.
They dubbed the car with a Jaguar.
Oh.
Because this car, apparently this car.
Like a squirrel.
Like a duvet.
Sorry.
I hate both of you.
Jaguar.
I'm American.
Just say Jag. Just say Jag. It's a
Okay, the Jag. But apparently the car that they were using was just a pile of crap that just barely ran, was totally noisy. And so they had to dub over the sound of the car, which I wonder if that's ever been done in a show before.
Yeah, lots.
It makes me laugh.
My father used to irritate the heck out of me by every time we watched shows, he'd say, that's not a Ford Cortina's sound, because basically dubbing mixers would just use whatever they
any old car noise.
The sexiest car noise they could find. I'm guilty of that in Big Finish. I mean, Benji very studiously created the accurate sound effect of a Hercules transport plane taking off, and I did the music, and I just thought that's not dramatic enough, so I put jet engines and biplanes and screechy things. I just put everything in and combined it all to get the effect I wanted. But accurate? No, was not accurate. I mean, that car, is that the car he drives for the entire series? I can't remember, because that car, the car he ended up driving all the time, became very much part of his sort of trademark as
it's
a
a 1947 Triumph Roadster.
Yeah, he kept that for the entire run, I think.
Yeah, it was very temperamental and caused immense problems during filming when it refused to start or to stop if the brakes failed. The engine sounded
off the cliff.
The engine sounded so rough that the sound of a Jaguar was dubbed over the top. Nettles loathed it because he kept scraping his knuckles or banging his knees on the dashboard. Ow. After filming on this show had finished, by which time the car was in very poor condition due to its extensive usage, it was auctioned for £34,000 sterling as part of the Children in Need appeal. The new owner. The new owner later wrote an angry letter to John Nettles complaining about the state of the car.
There's a lot of your skin on it, John, as well. You keep hurting yourself.
I can tell you as well that carmagazine.co.uk has listed the number one worst car in the history of television is Bergerac Triumph 2000 there. I was lucky enough for Jersey cop John Nettles that he lived on an island just 9 miles long, because he would have to triumph over adversity to catch baddies in this 75-mile-per-hour nail. Unsurprisingly, Nettles hated the car. The Rover 75 that he drove in Midsummer Murders suited him better. Number 2 car is the Volvo from A Touch of Frost. Number 3 is the Jaguar Mark II in Inspector Morse. Starsky and Hutch gets the 4th spot. I mean, there must be some.
Is Dukes of Hazzard on there?
Let me tell you, Cagney and Lacey
for the General Lee with the Rebel.
Miami Vice, Columbo's Peugeot 403 gets
just
in
one more
7.
thing.
My Peugeot 203. Cannon gets 9, and the 10th spot is the CSI Miami's
Quinn Martin production.
Cannon's Lincoln Continental didn't do well. Ironside's police Ford van didn't do well either.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. Take me to the van, Fran. He used to say.
But if you want a cool car, you've got to go with the Ford Granada from the Sweeney. That is the coolest car. Or of course the Cortina from the Professionals.
Or Bessie from Doctor Who. Sprightly yellow roadster.
I'm giving it 1 exclamation mark. I think it's a very well made program, but to me it lacks any kind of bite. It's so middle of the road that I'm going to run it over. I feel terrible. I feel that it's charmless, but it did make the Channel Islands really popular. I think a lot of people in Britain were either unaware of or had forgotten about the Channel Islands, and Bergerac sort of meant that for a couple of generations, the British people would never forget about the Channel Islands, I think.
Chillands, yes.
The Chillands. And as I mentioned last time, I visited Jersey, and it is a glorious place, and I really had a lovely holiday there. And I I bought a DVD that was all about, it was from a museum there that was all about the war, the Second World War there, and it was narrated by John Nettles. So I thought, this is interesting. And when I went to buy it, I said to the guy I was paying, I said, "Oh, it's John Nettles, who." Yeah. And the guy said, "Yeah, I never liked him." I thought, isn't that funny here? Because he was such an ambassador for the Channel Islands. And the first time I mentioned him to an inhabitant of the Channel Islands, he tells me he doesn't like John Nettles. And having met John Nettles very briefly, he seems such a nice man. I think, how could you not like John Nettles? He's lovely. He's kind of like a bit like the British Tom Hanks. He's kind of like a good everyman person. And he became very popular later in a series, as Benji mentioned, Midsummer Murders, where he plays almost exactly the same part, but with a slightly different accent. Anyway,
what about
so
you,
there we
Shelley?
are.
What are you? Have you given it yours?
I
Yeah,
said
she's
three.
given it 3. Yeah,
3.
I was
Yeah,
with
we
cool.
were
you.
both 3. Yeah,
Well, there we go. So
we should have graphics coming up, shouldn't we?
that'd be clever, wouldn't it?
But we
Yes,
haven't.
we can do
Make
this.
that noise.
This is quite exciting.
Oh,
Funny Faces HQ.
that's
that's
for those
about
of you
it.
not watching the video. There was an interesting graphic
Or
then.
or this banner as well, which is going to pop up that says "Use banners to summarize your talking points and display calls to action."
Yes, must
This
do
is
that.
a call to action. Here we
And
go.
it should just say underneath that at all times, Shelley having to put up with Nick and Benji.
Oh, I can do scrolling ones as well.
Oh, go
like
on,
a
then.
like what is it?
No.
A chiron?
Why is it not scrolling? Scroll across the bottom. Scroll.
How dare you
Just gonna
scroll
go-
across my bottom?
Here we go. Look.
Scroll.
Hey,
There's
that's
now
clever,
a
isn't
caption
it?
going along that just says scroll. the wonders of modern technology. We've now got scroll going past. It's like
How
breaking
clever.
news, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah, that's the chiron.
Bergerac slacked off by Nicholas Briggs.
Let's do it.
John Nettles takes his revenge
Yes, John Nettles
next
is
week.
at the door. Enemy at the door. Hey, there's a
Yeah.
cross-franchise
Breaking
thing.
news. There you go.
Yes,
It worked
it's true.
brilliantly. So next week, Shelley, you have already decided what we're doing next week. Would you like to tell us?
I made the suggestion because it's a show that I've never watched but have always wanted to watch, and I thought, what perfect opportunity.
Yeah.
I suggest that we watch Red Dwarf.
What are we going to watch? The first episode?
You tell me.
Rubbish. Series 1 and Series 2, I think, are rubbish. But
But how can you watch it if you haven't? I mean, can you get into it with Series 3?
well, I mean, I guess. I mean, of course. You
How
can.
about
We'll watch it from
Shelley
episode 1.
watches episode 1, and then you guys pick an episode for me to watch that we talk about.
Ooh, that's an
So
interesting.
Series 3 was when it really stepped up a notch, didn't it, in production terms? And model
Absolutely. It
shots
just
and
it just became better. It just became like more, in my opinion, it was less kind of dry and a little bit more. They were going to places a little bit more. One of my
everything. They went
favorite
off in Starbug, didn't they? A lot.
yes, and did one of my favorite episodes is the backwards one, where they go to the go to the world and everything's backwards, and
That's quite
so
fun.
instead of drinking a
What's
pint
the
of
first
beer,
episode of Series 3? I visited the special effects department at the BBC. That was one of the last series that they worked on in detail with all the models and everything. And Mike Tucker was working on it, and Peter Ragg was the supervisor. Now, sadly, no longer with us.
Series 3,
think I got that
episode
right.
1 is called Backwards.
there we go.
Oh,
I believe the model of Red Dwarf ship fell on the floor and smashed to pieces, and they had to they had to put it all back together again. But yeah, okay, then. Well, shall we? We'll do a kind of double whammy then. Maybe that's a good idea, isn't it? We can
what do you
talk
mean by
about
that?
we can talk about the first episode and then also talk about backwards, just as a fun
Okay.
example.
Yeah, they're only a half hour each. So
Yeah, it's
I
fine.
know, but okay. Oh God, right.
Well,
Let's think of
good
something
evening.
I'd
then.
like for us to watch at some point. Right.
Well, I suppose it's time to get close to the microwave. So, without further ado, this is Benji Clifford. This is Benji Clifford signing off without a pen.
And if you fancy some super cool Benji and Nick show merchandise, go to nicholasbriggs.com/shop to see what we've got. And this is Shelley saying bye.
Goodbye. Pressing stop now, Benji. Ka-chunk.